How's everybody doing today? Al Vanderbeek here. As most of you know, I've been documenting my journey with squamous cell carcinoma, also known as throat cancer, and I've been sharing it with you all in hopes that it can be helpful to anyone that's being diagnosed with a similar cancer and about to begin treatments or maybe going through treatments right now. Hopefully my experience can give you a little bit of insight of what to expect. I know that everybody is different in the way that they handle treatments, specifically radiation and chemo. Our bodies are different. We're different ages. Our cancers may be in different spots. But the reason I shared my journey is primarily because I wanted to be able to share thoughts that were inside of my head that I wasn't too comfortable always sharing out loud with my family, with my wife, with friends. Just because, you just feel like you don't want to be a burden. And so you kind of keep those thoughts into yourself. So it was very therapeutic to be able to stare at a camera and imagine people on the other side that are going through similar things, to be able to share thoughts and feelings in a way that is uninhibited and feeling vulnerable in sharing those things. And so throughout my journey, I've talked a lot about a support system, and primarily support that I gained from my family, and most specifically from my wife of 22 years. I always got emotional when I spoke about her, just because I've always felt that she's had a deep loyalty and unconditional love for me. But through this process, it even went to another level, and that was just amazing to me, just to see how even more patient and how tenderly and lovingly, and how she didn't judge me, how she just allowed me to go through the process, even on days where, my frustrations, not with God, not with life, but just the circumstances and just not knowing how I could help myself. But then there's a whole other side of her as a caretaker that we're going to talk about today. So no better way than to talk to the source. And so today, my wife is here.
Here I am.
What's your name?
I'm Rachel Vanderbeek. Yes, and I'm excited to be here. This is going to be fun.
This is the first time we've done this. I kind of got the thought as I've been reading your comments, and a lot of you have asked about what it's like for the caretaker. There's a whole other side. There's the side as the person going through it, but then there's also the side that are caretakers. For me, it was my wife. And so a lot of people asked, how did it affect my wife and how did she deal with it? And what are some tips and advice that, that I could give? And I'm like, well, I can't give any advice because I'm not her. So I thought, what better way to do it than just to sit down with my wife and ask her some questions and just have a conversation about it all. So that's what we're going to do today. And hopefully this will also help those on the caretaker side of what to expect and what to do. And again, this is just her experience. And I wrote down like 10 questions of things that I thought would be good questions to ask, but then also based off of questions that a lot of you have asked. So let's just get into it.
All right.
I'm going to read the first question. Okay. When you first found out about my diagnosis, what was the hardest part emotionally for you as my spouse?
Well, at first I think it was the shock. We were both young and healthy. And
we still are. What do you mean we were?
Exactly.
This was only, just so you know,
year
July 2024 is when I was diagnosed. And so we're still young. So yes, I am 52.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
You never ask a woman her age, but if she wants to offer it.
Yeah, I'm 48.
Okay, so we're young.
Oh, I'm 49.
No, you're not.
I'm 49. I'll be 50 next year.
Oh, that's right.
I had my birthday.
We are old because we can't even remember.
We can't even remember how old we are. That's sad. Okay. Yeah. So one day, we're talking about what we want to have for dinner, and the next we're Googling cancer and treatments and all the things that go along with that. And then honestly, the fear started creeping in, and I was worried not only what cancer meant for you, but what that meant for our kids and our family and how our life was going to change from that moment on.
So you never thought about what it meant for you? Because you said you thought about our kids and our family, but did you ever think about how is it going to affect you?
Not as much in the beginning, because I felt like I just was more concerned about everyone else and their needs. So I just assumed whatever, I could blaze through as long as everyone else was okay.
And that's how you have always been. You always put people before you. You've always put our family. You always put me before yourself. And that's one of the qualities I love about you.
Mm-hmm. That's really nice.
What surprised you the most about the reality of caretaking during cancer treatments that you weren't prepared for?
I think I was prepared for the physical part, like getting you to doctor appointments and medications, like that kind of part I was really expecting. But what I wasn't expecting was the emotional part, like for you and for me. And I just had this pressure of like, I felt like I had to be the strong one, that I had to hold it together. It was our daughter's senior year, and she had all these fun things that were happening. And I just wanted to be able to celebrate her and have her not be worried about her dad and his cancer. That I just wanted her to just enjoy, senior night with the basketball team and not have that. And I know it was in the back of her mind, but I just felt like the emotional part was hardest for me. And then when I saw you going through all the emotions of like fear and anger and frustration and just so many pieces of that. And I think there's the part that no one really warns you about, but it's the exhaustion that comes from trying to be strong all the time and just trying to emotionally like uplift. For me, it was the family and you. It just ends up being really exhausting.
Were there things that, like, how did you manage that? Like, what are the things that you did to be able to care for yourself during this whole process? Or was all your energy just put into taking care of me and, making sure the kids had, a normal life, not worrying about this being something that was keeping them from their school and their sports and their friendship, their social lives?
Yeah, I mean, there were definitely things I did for myself. Like I would go to the gym every day, every morning. And I also spent a lot of time like walking our dog just because it gave me an outlet, like somewhere to go. And I found that like moving my body helped me process some of these emotions and to think about it when no one else was around. So then I could like let myself cry. I could just have that time for myself to just process all the emotions. One time I was out taking the dog for a walk, and one of our old friends from our past neighborhood was here in the driveway, just had stopped by for a visit. And I saw him, and I was already been crying, out on my walk. But just like he embraced me in a big hug, and we just were able to have a moment where I could kind of hand a little bit to someone else. And I was starting to get emotional. I didn't think I would, but here I go. And so sometimes there were just like friends and people that just showed up at the right moment to help take some of that away.
Yeah. There was a lot of people that, I believe in angels that are in heaven, but I also believe in angels that are on earth. And there was a lot of ministering angels in our life that came forward in small ways, but seemed very big.
Yeah.
You don't realize how much just a text or a hug means until you're at a point where we were in our life where it was very difficult. And so, we kind of talked about this a little bit, but how did you balance taking care of me while also taking care of our family and yourself? You kind of answered that. But did you ever feel guilty? Did you ever feel guilty for needing breaks? Not that I think you should have felt guilty at all for anything, but did you ever feel guilty of feeling like you needed more time for yourself and to take care of yourself emotionally?
Yeah, I would feel really guilty. In fact, there was one day in particular that just comes to mind. I was going to the gym every morning, and it, was great for like my physical and mental and meeting with friends. And so that was really important to me. But I needed to run a couple errands after the gym. So by the time I got home, it was like 11 o'clock in the afternoon. And you were in tears because you needed some water, and you needed the water to be able to take your medications. And then, this big snowball effect, and I hadn't been here. And so then I was just like, the guilt sets in, like, oh my goodness, he needed me. And I felt like we had communicated and you knew when I would be home, but it was like the reality still existed that you needed me and I hadn't been here. There was always little things like that I would feel guilty about.
So what would you say to someone that's feeling guilty? Because that's definitely not a feeling that I would want you to feel.
Yeah.
And you shouldn't feel guilty for taking time out for yourself. So I think there's probably some people in similar situations where maybe they don't even do anything for themselves during this because they're just so deep into taking care of their spouse that's sick and their family. And then some have jobs that they actually have to go to every day as well on top of that. So I don't know, what have you learned, or what kind of advice would you give anyone that's feeling guilty?
Yeah, well, I do feel like the times that I did take for myself, I was able to come back so much more like refreshed and energized, and I could be a better person for you and the family. So I did realize that was important. That was an important time to take, even though, sometimes in the back of your mind, you're like, oh, the guilt.
Yeah. But I guess it's one of those things that's just so hard when you're in the middle of it, right?
Yeah.
Hindsight is 20/20, right? To look back and have that perspective now, you're like, oh, I felt guilty. I don't know why, because I needed that time.
Yeah.
So I guess the message is just take that time for yourself, even whatever it is, find your thing. For you, it was walking the dog, going to the gym, doing Pilates.
Yeah.
We also had a business at the time, right?
We did have a business.
So you were going to a job and managing a business and employees.
Yes. When you first started Treamants, we did have a business, a smoothie shop. We'd had it for 3 years. I loved it. I loved being around the people, but I quickly found that I could not balance it all. So we did end up selling that business, which freed up a lot more space, like mentally for me, where I could just really concentrate on the family and the emotions that we were dealing with, and not so much like the day-to-day of running a business and payroll and inventory and, all the pieces that come along with that.
So we're not saying go quit your job or if you have a business, but for us and for her, that's what you needed to do. So basically just, you got to find things in your life that you can free up and eliminate in order to have more bandwidth to give to yourself and to give to your family and your spouse, because there's just emotionally, and I've said this so many times before, like the emotional side of things was sometimes even more difficult than the physical pain that I was going through.
Yeah.
So I can only imagine on your end, just emotionally, you were just taking it on from every direction.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. The emotional load, I feel like, was heavier for me too.
Okay, moving right along. See, we're getting better at this. See, it's a little weird.
Get the nerves relaxed, and you start leaning into it a little bit. Yeah.
If you haven't already realized how amazing my wife is, and that's why I would always get so emotional when I would talk about you, because there was no way I'd ever been able to get through this without you by my side, and I would never want to do it again. But if I had to, I would only want to do it with you.
You're too far.
I know. Okay. What were the most difficult moments for you to witness during my treatments, and how did you cope with them?
Oh, wow. That's a big one, because there were so many big moments. And I think through all of this, I felt like I had no control. Like I would see you aching and your heart breaking. And if I could have taken that for like even a day or a minute, I would totally have done it. And there were so many times I just had to watch and see what you were going through and just try to support and love you. But I had to let you do it on your own. Like I couldn't take any of it from you.
As far as the physical, right?
Yeah, as far as the physical. Well, and the emotional too, right? Like you had to process the emotions and you had to do all that stuff too. I mean, I was here physically, but I couldn't take it from you. And I think there was one day in particular that was the very, very hardest for me. And it was the day of your last radiation treatment. And you were so dehydrated at that point and just not really consuming a lot of food. You would tell me you were fasting, which to me just meant that you needed to have some kind of control over, when you wanted to eat or when you didn't, or because it was so painful at that point.
You wheeled me in a wheelchair.
And I had to wheel you
couldn't
in.
Even walk.
Yes. And they tried to find a vein in your arm to give you your blood draw. And your veins were so dehydrated, they couldn't find a vein. And the nurse was poking around. And finally, like, you just passed out. Like, she finally found a vein and she's all excited. And I just watched your eyes just roll back in your head. And I gasped. And she's like, huh? I'm like, he just passed out. And that so hard to watch. And then I had to go fight the doctors. And I'm like, please don't make us do this. Please do not make him have his last treatment. And of course, the doctors are all discussing whether they thought that was a good idea or not. And they came back with like, yes, absolutely, we are going to do the last treatment. And again, I had no control. And it was ultimately your choice. And you felt like, okay, we've gone this far. If the doctors really do believe that one more treatment is going to be the answer, then, let's do it. And they, wheeled you back. And that was probably the lowest, hardest day for me, is to watch you just try to be so strong and just keep going when I could physically see like how hard it was for you.
Yeah. I remember that day. And I remember just saying to you, honey, please just ask them if I can just be done. I cannot do it.
Yeah.
You were like my mouthpiece at that time and delivering the message, and I'm just sitting in the wheelchair with my head down because I just didn't know how mentally or physically I could endure one more treatment.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a tough one. But we did it. Glad we did. Now, again, looking back. But, I guess my thought process was like, okay, at that point I'd had 29 radiations, and 5 chemos. Like, really, does one more radiation?
Yeah. Is it going to make that big of a difference? Yeah.
You know, what really hit me was just like, I do not want to look back 6, 7 months down the road, a year, and it came back, and just have the thought of like, it's because I didn't do my last treatment.
Yeah.
That's what made the difference. Like, what if it's because I didn't do that last treatment, right?
Yeah. Right. Yeah, you'd had to finish it.
Yeah.
Yep.
That is a good question. Did you ever feel helpless? And if so, what helped you get through these moments of helplessness?
I did feel helpless. I felt helpless a lot, kind of like we've been talking about. I remember we went on a trip, the kids and I. It was towards like the end in your recovery. And my daughter was meeting with a college in California, and our son had a basketball tournament in Las Vegas. And you were not quite healthy enough yet to travel. So we decided to go anyway. And our oldest son was going to be here, check in on you, make sure that you were all right. So I just had to feel confident in like, okay, you're going to be all right while we're gone. And when we got back, you had called like Grubhub or Uber Eats. You had called somewhere and ordered a steak. And you had eaten half the steak. And I just remember thinking like, my job is to love and support. But the ultimate decision to do those big, hard things came down to you. Like, you had to do that. And I do think that us being gone maybe freed up you to kind of have more power, because you realize like, I'm on my own. I really need to do this for myself. And I mean, I think you and I both just like, that was such a huge milestone. And I also remember the first time you ate scrambled eggs, you and I both were just like tears running down our faces as you were doing something that was so hard and so painful. I mean, I think it took you hours to eat those eggs, but just to watch you be able to physically chew and swallow was such a huge milestone that it was amazing for me.
I remember I said, I can taste it. This tastes so, when I said something like, this tastes so good. And it was just like, did you even add salt to it?
Oh, no, yeah. Well, because in the beginning, like bland was still so strong for you. Like everything had to be super unflavored.
Yeah. As soon as I tasted it, I remember just saying that, and what a blessing it is to taste. What a blessing it is to eat, and started to cry. You're crying. And that was kind of a momentous point to where it was just like, okay, we're going to get through this, right? It's like,
oh, absolutely.
I'm starting to eat. I can, 2 days in a row now, but it was the next day. So there was a lot of times, though, I remember that hearing conversations or just talking where you just like, I just feel helpless. So I think that's a feeling that a lot of people feel, because again, there isn't anything you could have done to take away the pain. Well, I think I disagree on the emotional side of things, because I think there was a lot that you did for me emotionally, just by you being there, just by you sitting there, just by you encouraging me, like, you got to eat, you got to drink. But then again, kind of stepping back, and ultimately the decision was up to me. But if like I didn't have that constant and consistent encouragement emotionally, I don't know if I had the ability to do it on my own. And also in moments where I was frustrated, where you just allowed me to be frustrated, again, just with the situation, the circumstances, and you didn't judge me, you didn't get mad at me, you weren't like, hey, you can't do that, you stop acting like a little child, you just let me throw my little tantrum. I didn't have too many, but I had a few, where I just got really upset, and I've shared them, in previous videos. I think that for you to be able to have the ability to just not react, and just to be like, okay, he's going through this. I can imagine how tough it is on him, and still how tough it is for you at the same time, but you're allowing me to do that. Looking back, that's like so selfish, but it's like, it's just what it is. It's just, what so many things in life throws us, and we just don't know how to deal with it until we can look back now and, we have the wisdom. But that feeling of helplessness is real, particularly, again, because this is about on the side of the person who's caregiving. And so, I'm just going to actually read this. She wrote down some notes. I want to read this because I really like it. She said, I would remind myself that love isn't measured by the results. It's measured by presence. You told me just holding you at night or snuggling up at night in bed felt good to you. And she did all those things, and they were super helpful in those moments. Did it take away my pain? No. Did it ease my mind? Yes. Did it give me the comfort and knowledge to know that I wasn't doing this alone, and that if you could take it away from me, you would? Yes. Yeah. And that's really big, right?
Well, and like as we're talking about this, I even remember I was listening to a podcast, because at the gym, I put on the headphones and you try to get as much information and motivational and spiritual uplifting while you have that time for yourself. But one of the things that that I was listening to, they were talking about feeling the feelings, because you did have times where you felt frustrated and mad, and that I didn't have to be strong all the time, that it was okay to come home and show some of the frustration and anger that I was feeling too. And I remember coming home and I'm like, F this cancer. And I think, first of all, it just shocked the heck out of you, because that's not usually like how we talk.
Yeah, we don't usually profane. Say nothing wrong. The biggest swear word up to that point she had said was like, she used to call her kids stinker bugs. You were little stinker bug. I'm like, oh man, mom's mad. You better watch out. She said stinker bug. So, but there was stuff that led up to that too. It wasn't like you just came home.
No, it was just like both of our emotions were like feeling more and more frustrated. And then I just felt like that podcast was giving me permission. Like, it's okay to feel the feelings. And so by me coming home and like letting go like that, I think it gave you permission, that it was like, it's okay to feel the feelings. It's okay to say the things. Right. I mean, at that point, we really did hate cancer. Yeah. It stole a lot from us. And so I just think that kind of just ripped that Band-Aid off, so that it made it possible for you and I to just be a little bit more open and honest with each other about our emotions. That I didn't have to try to be fake and like happy all the time and like, things are great, everything's perfect. That it's like, okay, we are struggling, and it's okay to say that was really hard.
Yeah. I think the important distinction to make is that when we got frustrated, it wasn't at each other. It was at the cancer.
Yes.
It was
absolutely.
Again, I keep saying this, but it was because of the circumstances that we're going through, the frustrations, the helplessness, the physical, the emotional toll that it was taking on us. And so, I give us an A. Except for that one day, which I shared. I guess I'll just tell the story. I was so frustrated. You were in the kitchen, and I threw my phone down. It bounced off the bed. It hit some pictures that are on this bookshelf in front of our bed and smashed it. And you came running in. And
because I just heard broken glass. Yeah. Like I hear something breaking, and I thought, oh no. And I was worried you had fallen. Like I just didn't know, because at that point you were a little bit more weak.
Yeah, I don't remember what I was saying, but I was just pissed. I was so done with everything. And I remember going to the bathroom, and you're following me, and she's trying to comfort me and calm me down, and I'm like kind of raising my voice again, not at her, but just, this sucks, this F and this F. Not my proudest moment, but again, hey, it's what it was. And I slammed the bathroom door, and like I couldn't even barely speak, and here I am yelling, and it was so painful, right? And you're like, you're gonna hurt yourself. I'm you're gonna hurt yourself. Slam the bathroom door, and then I think I was in there for like 20, 30 minutes, just letting myself be frustrated, right? And you were just sitting out in the room the whole time, just waiting. And then I remember coming out and just asking your forgiveness. Once I calmed myself down, I said, just please don't judge me at a time when I'm at my lowest mentally and physically. All I remember is you just holding my hand. And I think that's actually when you said, I feel it too. I'm frustrated too. F this cancer. And yeah, you're right. Emotionally, the boost that it gave me, just again to know that you're in the trenches with me, fully committed, that was huge. Like if you would have reprimanded me and said, you cannot do that. You can't act like that. Okay. But I think you knew that I wasn't directing my frustrations to you. There wasn't any reason for me to have any anger or frustrations to you. And so for you to recognize that, I think that's huge, again, for people and couples that are going through this. It's just, when you're a person that has this disease, is frustrated and angry and impatient, and you just got to know it's because of the disease. I mean,
and you can't take it personally.
Yeah, you can't take it as hard as it is some days.
Right. Yeah, it's easy to say that.
But then again, it's okay to be frustrated on both sides, but just as long as it's not directed to each other.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Okay, that was good. Okay, number 7. Were there things friends or family did that helped lighten your load? And what did you wish people had done differently?
Oh, we had so many angels. I mean, angels is really the only thing that you can call them, people that were aware. We were really quiet in the beginning and didn't really tell anyone. So the only people that really knew were a couple of really close friends and then our immediate families. And
they didn't know until about 3 months after the diagnosis. I mean, we told the kids pretty immediately.
Right. Well, because you were juicing and that was so obvious to them. They're like, wait, my carnivore dad who eats bacon and steak every day, like he is only eating vegetables. So the kids kind of knew something was fishy. And so, we told the kids in the beginning, but there weren't too many other people that knew everything that was going on. But the people that did know, I mean, they showed up. They showed up with meals and cards and notes. And I mean, there were people that would call and just like leave you voice messages of just like news articles or stories that they thought were fascinating. And we had someone show up with groceries. They had watched one of your videos and knew all the foods that you liked and things that you could eat. And they showed up with bags of groceries. People just were so kind and so generous. And it was the people that didn't expect anything in return, because, sometimes you'd get texts like, hang in there, we love you, or we're thinking about you. And I didn't always feel like I had to reply to all of those. If people expected something, I think that would have been hard. And there were even times that I hid. People would come to our house and there were days that I'm like, I cannot talk to them. I don't know how to explain our situation and what's going on today. Like that just felt too heavy and I'm not proud of it. But I would just run down the hallway, hide in the closet, just kind of run from it. But, I would encourage people that if they do see someone struggling, don't worry about being awkward, because sometimes you don't know what to say when they're struggling, but just to be there. It was the people that just constantly, and we had friends that just constantly were there. And I think just the consistency of just knowing that they were always thinking about us, that just gave me so much peace. And that I did know if I needed anything that they would always be there.
Was there anyone or people that did things for you specifically that helped?
I mean, my really good friends and family, my sisters were always reaching out. I have one sister that lives out of town and she sent us soup, because she's like, I can't be there, but I can at least send a package, which that was so amazing. Just watching people try to find ways to serve us. I just felt so grateful for all those moments. Another thing that was really helpful was your sisters do live closer and they're like, hey, let's start doing a sister lunch. And that was so helpful for me because they wanted to know what was going on with you. And I think I was kind of that tie between them where they could find out information and how you were doing. And I think that was a way for them to support me emotionally because they did know how hard it was for me. And just, the people doing those little things, just supporting us with love and trying to do things for me to help buoy me up, that just made all the difference for me.
Anything that you wish people would have done differently?
I feel like everyone just rose to the occasion.
Yeah.
Just don't be worried about being there. Even if you don't know what to say or what to do, whatever comes into your heart or mind, just follow through with it.
There's nothing too small or too big, I guess, that you think sometimes we talk ourselves out of things because they're probably good. They're probably just overwhelmed. They don't need a visit or a call but all those little things now looking back. I mean, yeah, maybe there were times where I couldn't even reply to a text just because it was just overwhelming. A lot of times I just felt like maybe people were reaching out to me so I could comfort them by telling them I felt good even though I didn't feel good. So it's just oh, I feel good. Yeah, things are going good. And I'm just I don't.
Right. Well, that's
if I really told you how
harder.
I feel, you wouldn't probably reach out anymore. What were you going to say though?
Oh, I was just agreeing with you.
Yeah. Okay. What role did communication between us play in getting through this? And what would you recommend couples focus on?
I feel like in the very beginning, when you first got diagnosed, we talked about everything. We were both doing research and we would compare notes on things we found out. I remember one morning we went and had breakfast up the canyon. We live close to some mountains and we went and had a great breakfast and started doing this hike. And we were just talking about fears, worries, just
worst case scenario.
Yeah.
Best case scenario.
Right. And just kind of sharing our hearts. And that was really impactful to me. And then I remember later on, in the middle of treatments, I felt like there were certain things I couldn't ask. I never wanted to ask, oh, how are you doing today?
How do you feel?
Or how do you feel? Or, any of those things, because that just opens up the door to help you think about that even more. So I would try to just watch. And I found that when we went to doctor visits, I would listen to the things that you were saying and oh, I didn't know he felt like that. Or when you would do these YouTube videos, I would learn so much. I'm like, oh my goodness, now I'm getting to the heart of some of the things that you were processing emotionally that you weren't talking about with me. But I feel like when things were the hardest, we were just trying to support each other just more with love and presence than talking a lot, because during that time I feel like we didn't. And then now as we're going through the recovery and starting to feel better, I think we're getting back to the communication and just oh yeah, that was hard. Even doing things like this and just talking it out with each other, I feel like we just get to know each other's hearts and it makes me love you even more and just see how resilient and strong and what an amazing person you are, because we went through the fire, babe. We went through it.
We sure did. And I think without a doubt, we can say it made us stronger as a couple.
Oh, absolutely.
There's so many things that you can look back and say, oh, that's, why we had to go through this. And there's a lot of things that I've shared in my videos. It brought me closer to God. It brought me closer to my faith in Him and knowing that He gives us these struggles for our benefit. But also He gave this trial to us because He knew that it would bring us closer.
Yeah.
Or that it could have the opportunity to bring us closer, and fortunately it did in our case. So yeah, there's I guess just the lesson learned there for people is that communication isn't always flowing during the process. You're constantly processing things, and sometimes you just don't want to talk about it. You just got to get through it. How are you feeling every day? Crappy, worse, tired, exhausted, like I want to die. That's no fun to talk about. So you just kind of, I think it's, again, that's the emotional connection side of things, where it's just a lot of things that aren't spoken. You just feel them.
Yeah.
Little things like, not little things, but, you just preparing all different kinds of food, buying baby foods and all different flavors and bringing it to me. And sometimes you would make like 3 or 4 different meals within an hour just to, we wouldn't really have these big conversations, and I'd probably just take a bite and just, I can't eat it. And you're like, okay, we'll try something else.
Yeah.
There was that point where we didn't have just like these conversations that we have now, but I think it is important at some point to be able to go back and process it all together. And I think that's kind of what we're doing, and we have been doing the last 4 or 5 months. And so it's been really, really great. Okay, 2 more questions. You're doing good, babe.
Oh, thanks. So are you.
Okay.
You're good at this.
Okay, looking back, what do you think was the most important thing you did that really made a difference for me?
It's kind of hard to say, because I feel like a lot of it was up to you. We talked about you were the one that kind of had to make the decision to eat. You kind of were the one that had to make the decision to do the last treatment. Like, I felt like a lot of it was just, me supporting and loving you and just cheering you on when you were able to do something that was hard. When you finally told me that, like, oh, touch feels good to me, and I was like, oh, that's such a relief to be able to just like hold your hand or do things like that. And I felt like that was my way of trying to love and support you.
Well, there was many times in the night too. Remember where we just couldn't sleep. I'm just coughing up all that gunk, moving around, tossing, turning, changing my position, my head up here, my head down there. And I remember the times when you would just start rubbing my back, and that really calmed me down, right? And again, it was just that reassurance through that touch of just knowing, again, I'm here, I'm not going anywhere. Those moments were really big for me.
Yeah, we had many sleepless nights, didn't we?
Yeah.
I do remember that finally in the recovery process, we have a good friend that is a physical therapist who came and started doing acupuncture and taught me some massages and things that I could do. And it was just like, I finally felt like there was something that I could physically do that brought you some kind of relief. And I just remember, like, after meeting with her, I was so filled with hope, because we'd started recovery and the doctors had told us, about 2 weeks, 2 weeks after, you're going to go through really, really hard, but then you're going to start feeling better. And you started getting like that nerve pain through your ear and down your jaw. And I'm like, we're not getting better. Like, in some ways, like, you're starting to eat solid foods, and in some things it was just like amazing. Like, yes, we were making huge progress, but you still had so much pain that in my mind, I'm like, we're taking a couple of steps forward, but then so many steps back. It was this constant back and forth. And I just finally, after she came, I'm like, oh my goodness, there is something that we can do that's going to bring you relief. And I'm just like, do you need a massage? Do you want a massage now? Like, I just felt like, okay, anytime you needed one, I was just so glad to be able to do something physically that just would help you. And you were able to start sleeping through the night. There were so many big, huge things that started happening once we found that out, that I just felt like you're healing, and we started seeing progress a little bit more quickly after that.
Okay, finally, this brings us to my last question for you. Now that we're on the other side of treatment, how has this experience changed you and us and the way you see life?
I feel like maybe I was living life with like blinders on, and through going through something hard like this, I appreciate the color of the sky more. Like, I feel like I appreciate like service from other people. Like, I feel like the world and the way that I see things is a little bit more bright. You don't take anything for granted. You and I just took a trip to Maui. We had never done just a trip, the two of us, since our honeymoon.
For 22 years.
We started taking our kids and doing maybe a couple trips and things like with some other friends and family, but we didn't ever really do a trip, just you and I. And just being able to reconnect. And during this interview, we've talked a lot about how our relationship has changed and morphed through all of this, and how much sweeter, and the appreciation that I feel like we have for one another. Like, I appreciate your strengths and the person that you are in such a different way than I did before. I mean, just the way that you handled it. I mean, none of us are perfect, but the way that you handled it and the way that you went through it, and we found ways to kind of cling and come together, I think is the most beautiful part of this whole journey.
I agree. This wasn't a question I had, but kind of made me think about how has this experience affected your faith in God and your relationship with Him?
I feel like when you go through hard things, you have to submit. For me, I had to submit to a higher power. So that's my God. That's what I believe in, is that my Heavenly Father knows me and He knows my struggles. And I can't tell you how many times I had to pray in the car or going from one place to the next out running errands when I felt like I was kind of alone and could just bare my heart to Him. Like I really did feel like I was in the palm of God's hand, and that even though things were hard and things were like, He was aware, like He knew it was hard, like He knew what we were going through, and He was like, it's okay, it's okay. Like He would give me like a rainbow or a beautiful sunset or extra hug from like our kids. Our daughter gives the best hugs ever. And sometimes those little things would be like, okay, I'm aware of you. I love you. And it would just give me enough to like make it to the next day or the next minute or the next hour. And so I just felt extremely loved and kind of protected from the divine.
Awesome. Any closing thoughts?
I would just tell someone else, like if there's a caretaker out there that is just struggling, that it's okay to not be perfect. There were many moments that I was not proud of. There's no manual on how to process this or how to handle it or a step by step on how to do it all perfectly. But I think when you have good intentions and you just keep showing up, somehow that's enough.
Yep, and you did. You showed up every day, time and time again.
Thank you. You're very kind.
So just thank you.
No. I love you.
I love you too. Everybody needs somebody. I can't imagine doing this alone. I belong to some Facebook groups, and I have read some stories of people how they just don't have anyone, and how they're driving themselves to these appointments, and how they're going home and they're going to bed at night, and they're processing this all alone and have nobody to talk to, other than just going online and finding these strangers that can relate to you and that you can, have these conversations with. But for me, there's no way that I would have been able to do this without you. I hope that this conversation was helpful, specifically for anyone who is caretaking for someone that has been diagnosed with cancer. Again, this is our journey. This is our story. This is what worked for us. It may look different for you and your current situation in life. But we hope that through sharing our experience, it can be helpful and encouraging to you. This was the hardest thing that we've been through as a couple in the 22 years of our marriage, both physically and mentally and emotionally. But there is hope and there is light at the end of the tunnel. Despite how you may feel right now, there will come a time when you can look back on this and see all of the miracles and see all of the blessings and all of the positive things that came out of something so difficult. We hope that you feel our true love and empathy for you, and we're praying that you'll be able to have the mental and physical and emotional strength to endure your journey, and just know that you will get through this. There will be better days. There will be some hard days in between, but ultimately you'll be able to look back on this and see the hand of God in your life, and to see all of the love and the beauty around you, in your family and in your friends, in those who are closest to you. I always say at the end of my videos that there is strength in numbers. And right here is my biggest source of strength. If you're feeling alone in this, we hope you know that you're not alone. We're here right now speaking to you. And we hope that you can feel our deep and sincere love for you. We hope that you'll feel our prayers for you. We know that you're going to get through this. We don't know what the outcome will be, but we know it will be the way that it needs to be in order to refine you, to soften you, to bless your life, to see all the beauty that's in it. That's all that you can hope and wish for. And so there is strength in numbers. We're all in this together. We know that you've got this. Until next time, peace.